My dear students of 11th class, and today in your botany we are going to discuss the secondary growth and lay emphasis on the role of the cork cambium. And previously we have talked about the differences uh, between the spring wood and the autumn wood, and related to this is the heartwood and the sapwood. And firstly we will try to compare the heartwood with sapwood, and these are the typical questions from the examination point of view. Now, what is the difference between the heartwood and the sapwood? Point number one here, I have written it. It is the central wood, heartwood. It is the central wood of the old trees, and for sapwood, it is the outer wood of an old tree stem. Hopefully you must have got it. Heartwood is darker in color or dark colored, and sapwood it is light colored. And living cells are absent in the heartwood, whereas in sapwood living cells are present. It is the non-functional part of the secondary xylem, that is the heartwood is the non-functional part of the secondary xylem, whereas sapwood it is the functional part of secondary xylem. A deposition of tannins, resins comes in the tertiary elements for the heartwood, whereas tertiary elements does not possess any deposition in their lumen for the sapwood. There is no deposition in the lumen of tertiary elements in sapwood. And heartwood is heavier in weight, whereas the sapwood is lighter, and heartwood is durable and resistant to pathogen, whereas it is susceptible to attack by the pathogens and insects. That is the sapwood susceptible to attack by the pathogens and insects. These are the typical questions which are very important from the examination point of view. And now we will look upon the cork cambium. As the stem continues to increase in girth due to the activity of vascular cambium, the outer cortex and epidermal layer get broken. You must have observed it in the old trees, the trees which are many years old. The outer cortex and the epidermal layer gets broken and need to be replaced to provide new protective cell layers. So, sooner or later, new protective tissue, that is a meristematic tissue called as the cork cambium or phellogen, develops in the cortex region. And this is, you may have a view of this. Here you can see the epidermal layer that is broken, then the complementary cells, and then followed by the cork cambium. This is the cork cambium. And now this phellogen cuts off cells on both sides. This phellogen is basically a couple of layers thick. It is made up of narrow, thin-walled and nearly rectangular cells. A phellogen cuts off cells on both sides. The outer cells differentiate into cork or phellum, while the inner cells differentiate into the secondary cortex or the phelloderm. Hopefully you have understood this, or I may repeat it once again. Phellogen cuts off cells on both sides, that is on the inner and the outer side. The outer cells differentiate into cork or phellum, while on the inner side the cells differentiate into the secondary cortex or phelloderm. The cork is impervious to water due to suberin deposition in the cell wall. It does not allow water to enter because of the presence of the suberin, that is the waterproofing material. The cells of secondary cortex are parenchymatous. The phalogen, phellum, and the phalloderm are collectively known as periderm. Because of the activity of cork cambium, pressure builds up on the remaining layers peripheral to phalogen, and ultimately these layers die and slough off. Bark then refers to all tissues exterior to the vascular cambium and includes secondary phloem also. That is the bark for yew, which is the outermost covering of the older trees. This bark refers to a number of tissue types, periderm and secondary phloem. Bark formed early in the season is called early or soft bark, and towards the end of the season, late or hard bark is formed. At certain regions, the phalogen cuts off closely arranged parenchymatous cells on the outer side of the cork cells, and these parenchymatous cells soon rupture the epidermis, forming a lens-shaped opening called lenticels. An opening is formed that is called as the lenticels. These lenticels permit the exchange of gases between the outer atmosphere and the internal tissues of the stem, and these occur in most woody trees. Hopefully you may have understood this, and this is the bark of the stem for yew. It is having the lenticel on the surface that allow the exchange of the gases and different types of the material with the environment. Hopefully you may have understood this all. Have a nice day.